All right. Now 5:32, we'll call this meeting, August 10th meeting of Lawrence County Council to order. We will begin with an invocation by Councilmember Luke Rankin, followed by pledge of allegiance by U.S. Navy Jim Peterson.
Thank you, Aaron. Come, let's be in prayer for the family of Brenda Holland. She served on the CPW board as our commissioner for many years. She passed away this week. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come tonight grateful and thankful for another day. I thank you for each and every one that is here represented tonight. Lord, give us wisdom as we tackle the business of Lawrence County. May we make decisions that are best for the people of Lawrence County. Be with our country, guide her through the midst of the storms that we face. In the name of Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.
Please join me to pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Engineer Peterson, Mr. Peterson, if you wouldn't mind coming up here for a minute. We like to recognize veterans, and we've been doing this for the past few meetings. This is a certificate of appreciation and community gratitude. It is with deep pride and heartfelt gratitude that on behalf of the Lawrence County, on behalf of the County of Lawrence, South Carolina, we do hereby recognize and honor the dedicated services rendered to our nation, state, and community by United States Navy James C. Peterson, Lieutenant Commander. For your service in the armed forces of the United States of America, we salute our local servicemen and women and extend our gratitude to all of our veterans who have served honorably to safeguard our freedom and democracy. And a grateful appreciation signed all the council members and our county attorney and clerk of council.
Thank you very much.
Next seat. Mr. Peterson, I also want to say thank you on behalf of Lawrence County Council for your many years of service as a naval aviator, and all you do for the American Legion here. I want to thank you and your group. I know we're going to probably interact a few times tonight, but I want to go ahead and thank y'all for all your hard work you did on the cemetery in town this week. That looks tremendously better. Had we not been conducting the meeting at the same time ourselves, I think a few of us have been out there helping you. We do appreciate all that you do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, next we have approval of the agenda. Before we call for motion, we do have one amendment to add an item for executive session for a human resources employment matter. If there are no other additions to the agenda, I'll call for a motion of approval as amended.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Wright and second by Ms. Anderson. All those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please raise your right hand. 6-0. Thank you. Next, we have approval of the minutes from the executive session on July 27th and the regular session on July 27th. Do I have a motion to approve both sets of minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the minutes of our July 27th meeting and also that executive session as well as the regular session.
Motion by Ms. Anderson,
Second.
second by Mr. Carroll. Are there any additions or deletions to those minutes? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 6-0. We have no reports to council tonight. However, I'd like to take a point of personal privilege to address an issue that has been going on in our community to get some facts out from the county side so that everybody's on the same song page. As many of you remember, for the past few years, we've been, or really for the past year, we've been working on the capital project sales tax, which is a large initiative throughout the county that had a total of 16 projects on it that benefited parks, libraries, infrastructure, Clinton, water tower, taverns, veteran monuments, and everything in between. This courthouse, ag center, many items. But tonight I want to address item number 8 on that list, which was the veterans monument. And just want to walk through a timeline. As many people know, Mr. King Dixon, who near and dear to all of us, this is a project of his and Mr. Bolts for 7 years, 8 years. How long y'all been working on that? 7 years. 7 years. They've been working on that project. So it was a long project in the community. The presentation had gone through several phases, resizing many things, and was initially designed to be here on the north side of the courthouse. And on April 28th, that was the project. The Hall of Heroes, I think there's several board members of the Hall of Heroes here tonight. They presented that to the Capital Project Sales Tax Committee on April 28th. Is when they submitted that application. That was received. I'll be honest, I don't know if that was voted on that evening about the condition or not, but it was received. And then a little over a week later, on May the 8th, the board of directors of the Hall of Heroes, the sponsoring organization for that project, submitted a letter which read, I won't read the whole thing to you, but the board proposed an alternative site for the location of the Veterans Memorial Plaza, the east side of the county library on West Main Street in the city of Lawrence. That memorandum was issued by the secretary on behalf of all of the board of directors of the Hall of Heroes. That was also accepted and received by the Sales Tax Commission that was hearing all of the projects. That was the first time council received the final list. Was in first reading in June of 2020, and it was listed as item number 8 on the list of 16. And once again, the ranking really had no merit because all projects were funded by bond, so it's semi-relevant as far as what number they ran. That mean it was any more or less important than anything else. But it read, Veterans Monuments and Memorial Park, establish a memorial park at the Lawrence County Library with monuments dedicated to the branches of the military. And that's the copy of the ballot that everybody who voted that day would have had an opportunity to look at. There seems to be some confusion as to the location of being able to move it, but it was clear as bell, in my opinion, on the actual ballot that this particular project was to establish a memorial park at the Lawrence County Library. Subsequently, after that, there were multiple news outlets that reported. The only one I brought with me tonight. We did have, so as far as comments have also been made that the public didn't have an opportunity to say anything. So that was, in theory, the first time that was published to the public as an approval at the library. That was the first time. It was the first or second meeting in June, but it was June 2020. We had second reading, and it was published as usual. The first meeting in July, and we had third reading and a public hearing at the second meeting in July of the same year. All of those opportunities, as you'll see tonight, we got 5 people signed up. There's opportunity every week to speak at county council meetings. Every ordinance that we ever passed, we hold a public hearing, just like everything else. The information's out there. There are many people involved with it and whatnot. As far as media out there, some people don't. Not everybody reads the county council agendas, and I don't blame you. Sometimes they're quite lengthy. But there was an article, Go Lawrence, and several other media, Chronicle ran some stories. I happened to pull the September 9th edition of the Advertiser, where the secretary of the Hall of Heroes, the sponsoring organization, said that area of the library came into play to do sort of a plaza and make that a monument in itself. To be able to honor the veterans and create a place they can go and their families can go and they can celebrate or meditate or do whatever they'd like to do. The president of Hall of Heroes added, I think it's important to honor the veterans in Lawrence County. The biggest thing is to get this built for the veterans, and if that's the library, we're fine with that. Several other veterans organizations that made comments during the process of the Capital Project Sales Tax initiative before the vote. Myself as a non-veteran, and I applaud all those you are, I appreciate your service, your willingness to die for this country. I was looking at this from my side as far as my opinion on the location, as that the veterans organization that initiated the project requested the move, and then members of that board repeatedly in the media and in the public attested to that move. It was not my place as a council member to question that move, and of course, as we all know, the first Tuesday in November, that was that passed roughly 2-1. Not everybody's happy with it. Not everybody's happy with their project on this, but that passed 2-1. It was certified by the election board, and is now that ball is rolling down the hill quickly. As you know, many of the projects we created committees to govern them. That's one of them. Andy Howard is our county liaison, and there are several members on that committee that are in multiple veteran organizations. But I just wanted to run down the timeline and history. I think there's been some confusion. I just wanted to clear that air. And this was not planned for y'all to be here. It was actually supposed to be the last meeting, but I'm glad that some of the veterans were here to hear some of the timeline. But based on every research we've done, because it was on the ballot listed as at the library, it is not changeable unless you throw the whole thing out. And honestly, we're past the 30 days. There would have been 30 days after the election to file a lawsuit to contradict it or challenge it, whatever you want to call it. We are long past those deadlines. So there is no possibility of moving that monument anywhere but placing it at the library. And I'll welcome, not now, but at any time, I welcome any questions, any clarification, or see any documents. They're all on, everything I pulled today is on the internet. You can get on your phone right now and find all of it. No secret, nothing done behind closed doors. It was all done at the request and procedures that were set forth by those commissions. So I just want to get that out there. Like I said, anybody that has any questions at any time, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm relatively accessible. I'm still trying to get a hold of me. Or after the meeting, I'll be glad to talk with whoever I need to. So I just want to get that out there and run by that. And if anybody, like I said, does have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. So next, we'll jump into old business.
Mr. Chair, before we get into this, I do want to give one report. One of the speakers last meeting, Ken Gillette's from Cross Hill area.
Yes, sir.
Regarding mobile homes, that the appropriate departments within the county are researching that as we speak, and hopefully we'll have a final answer to council. We have followed up on it for 14 years.
All right, thank you. Just to repeat that for those in the audience that couldn't hear and those that are watching at home, the last meeting we had a gentleman speak to us during public comments that had an issue in his neighborhood with some building code regulations. County attorney just reported that proper departments are working on it, and hope to have us report back very soon. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, next we have approval of appointments to county board commissions. Anybody have anything to add this week? Seeing none, we'll move on to public hearing on ordinance number 907. Mr. Crooks, I have anything to add to this ordinance here?
Nothing to add. We just glad to get this to the final stage and welcome the Torrington Ventures LLC to our community.
All right, thanks, sir. I'll now open the floor for public hearing on ordinance number 907, the infrastructure credit agreement with Torrington Ventures LLC. The time is 5:46. If you'd like to speak to this in public hearing, please step to the microphone and state your name and address. Seeing no one, I'll close public hearing. Next, I'll call for a motion on third and final reading of ordinance number 907, the infrastructure credit agreement with Torrington Ventures LLC.
Mr. Chairman, I move for third reading approval of ordinance 907.
Heard a motion by Ms. Anderson,
Second.
second by Mr. Rankin. Is there any discussion on this third and final reading? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving ordinance 907 on third and final reading, please raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-0. And I'll echo the county attorney's sentiments. We are looking forward to that company moving into town and providing infrastructure in our community. Next, we have second reading on ordinance number 908. I'll once again call on the county attorney.
Mr. Chairman, the council, there have been no additions to the draft that we presented at the last meeting. This is a clarification with regards to the road fee. And we would certainly recommend second reading approval. If there are any other additions that the council wishes to add, please get those to me so I can put those in there before the third reading. We'll publish this, and probably the first meeting in September will be the third reading and public hearing.
Thank you. You've heard the recommendation by the county attorney. Do I have a motion for approval of second reading of ordinance 908?
Motion approved.
A motion by Mr. Carroll. Second by Mr. Giannis. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving ordinance 908 on second reading, please raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-0. Now moving to new business, I'll call on Joey Avery. Approval of grant award for the South Carolina Emergency Management.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. I'll be brief. I have requested approval of a local emergency performance grant, which we normally get every year about this time, in the amount of $61,887. That money goes towards the operation of what we do in emergency management. If it wasn't for the grants, we couldn't do business with what we do now. Again, this is an annual award that we get. The money is increased a little bit. It just takes approval from council. There is no match to that money.
You've heard the report by Mr. Avery. Are there any questions or comments? I just have one for a couple of minutes. I appreciate your hard work. I know you do a lot of grants and I'll pass through that truly helps offset the cost of running your department, and taxpayers are grateful for that, and we appreciate it. So you've heard the comments by Mr. Avery. Do I have a motion to accept this grant award for the emergency management department to the tune of $61,887?
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Tribble and a second by Mr. Carroll. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Please raise your right hand. 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
members of
sir.
council.
All right, next I'll call on Mr. Jim Peterson, American Legion Post 25. I believe he has a request of council this evening.
Good evening, Jim Peterson, Waterloo, Lawrence County, and Commander of American Legion Post 25 here in Lawrence. Good evening, council members. American Legion was chartered by the United States Congress in September 1919, 102 years ago. Purpose was at that time was to assist veterans returning from World War I and now all wars. Played a leading role in drafting the GI Bill in 1944 to help create the VA system. I'll give you just a little bit of background on who the American Legion is, why we're here in Lawrence. The hat, we remain covered indoors by as per our charter with Congress. We are covered for prayer, as you saw, for the Pledge of Allegiance for divine services. Post 25 was formed in 1919. Been around for 102 years here in the city of Lawrence, and we've had, like any organization, we've had peaks and valleys. We are building strongly right now. We are an organization of veterans and working diligently to support other veterans in the community and invest in the youth of our community as a way of ensuring the future success of the city of Lawrence, Lawrence County, the state, and the nation. In the past year, our post has been the fastest growing post in South Carolina. And last month, we were named by the American Legion Department of South Carolina as the top post in the department for 2021. We're proud of that. Post 25 is seeking a gift of land from the county in which to build an American Legion post to be owned and operated by the post for the use of and in support of veterans in Lawrence County, or alternatively, a building would be suitable for as an American Legion post. And we're requesting that this property or building be in or near the city of Lawrence, since we are Lawrence Post 25. Our activities are centered in and around the Lawrence City and Lawrence County. It's our proposal to enter into an agreement with the county for the long-term transfer of such a property, with the understanding that this property will be maintained and improved by the post. If at any time the post fails to maintain a viable presence in the county, said property will revert to the county along with any improvements that we had made to it. So it's not exactly owning it, but sort of borrowing it on a long-term basis is what we'll be proposing here. Post 25 is well established in Lawrence County with a strong record supporting veterans and children in the community. And this property will enable us to grow and expand within the community and within the county. Right now, we rent a fellowship hall at the First United Methodist Church on a monthly basis for our meetings. We would really like to get into a central home where we could grow and prosper a little bit more. The nature of this request is apologetically broad in its scope, and it's intended as an introduction to an idea and a request for consideration that will lead to a more defined agreement if Lawrence County finds it appropriate to go forward with this concept in partnership with Post 25. We will more narrowly define this request based on availability of assets as defined by the county. Post 25 thanks you for your consideration. We look forward to the opportunity to expand on this proposal and move forward with you to the benefit of Lawrence County, Post 25, and the veterans of the children of the community. Are there any questions? Is it appropriate for take questions?
Sure. Are there any questions from the community? Comments?
I do want to comment and just say how thankful I am for what the American Legion does for the Lawrence County community. For those of you who aren't really familiar with what they do, these guys spend so much volunteer time cleaning up the community. You guys were at the cemetery this past weekend cleaning it up. They give back so much. So what you presented to me, I've already signed the letter. I'd be very excited to see Lawrence County enter into some sort of agreement with the American Legion so you guys can have a home. I'm just very grateful for what you guys do.
Thank you for your support on that, Councilman. We are a 501c19 organization. That means we are a veteran, military veterans organization, like a C3, only we're C19, meaning we're military and veterans. So 100% of everything we do, the money we raise, the food drives, the raffles we hold, everything comes back into the community, stays in the community for the support of the community. The community took care of us as veterans, and it's our turn to give back. We'd like to be able to do that. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to know your membership. What's the membership number? You say you're the fastest growing post in the area. What's the number of memberships do you have?
Our membership right now, we have in current 110 members.
110? Okay, so that's just covering Lawrence County. You're originally from Waterloo, right?
I live in Waterloo, yes.
Okay. Is that a group that's representative of the entire county? I know it was American Legion, I think, at one time. It's just a group of the whole entire Lawrence County?
We are open to the entirety of Lawrence County. However, you are correct. Post 56 still is in Clinton, though they've been kind of on a downswing. There are not many members right now, and they recently sold their building. But we're in the upswing and want to continue going. But yes, we represent veterans in the county. We're open to everybody in the county.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll say thank you, Joe. There you are, you're hiding right there. I know I've interacted with you with all the initiatives you see every time I see, 10 of them I see you at, in addition to several others. Y'all very active in the community and giving back. I've been at several presentations, including Rotary and others, where y'all contributed to the community, and y'all truly do give back. I'm grateful for that. I don't know, Mr. Peterson, that you had a particular parcel in mind that you were interested in. Y'all might have 2 or 3. So what I'd like to do for the time being is we have a committee on planning and intergovernmental affairs, which I thought this falls under. I'm going to push this to committee and let them meet with y'all to kind of discuss what opportunities may be available. And I'll also go, I know that we'll go back to veterans line. I know in early, I forgot what was on my speech earlier. Earlier in 2020, back in January timeframe, Hall Heroes had approached council, or might have been 2019. But there was an issue with the 501c3 and giving land away and all that fun stuff. And I don't know if we ever got to the bottom of that, but if you'll maybe revisit that and be ready when the committee meets, so we can make sure, I'm sure there's a way, we should make sure we do it the right way, so we don't get any of us in trouble.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's precisely what we're hoping to accomplish tonight, is just get it open, get it to committee, and I'm not going to ask for land that I have no idea what's available or buildings, and we really want to work with you so that something that's not being used is sitting that we can improve and work with to your benefit as well as ours.
Sure.
Primarily ours, of course.
I hear you. I hear you. Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming out this evening. That officially wraps up our agenda. Next, we have the public comment section, and we do have several, more than normal sign up this evening. It says 15 minutes. Normally I do not restrict anyone to their talking time. All I do is ask everyone to be respectful of their neighbors, and all the rest of us here don't have air conditioning here tonight, and I apologize for that. We're going to get that back up and running. But I'll ask you to be respectful of those that may come before or after you to give everybody ample time. Actually, first up, Mr. Peterson, I have you on here. You still wishing to address for another matter?
I feel like I should have had put a stool up here. I'd like to just very quickly, unrelated to the previous comments, clear up a point of misunderstanding. And this seems maybe trying to push the snowball back up the hill concerning your opening statement, your preemptive statement on this. But concerning the Veterans Park, just a statement on it. Part of the recent, something that I got involved in that I would like to revisit. Prior to the recent referendum for the capital improvements, I was asked as the Legion Post Commander to make a film public statement supporting the Veterans Memorial Park in the library at the county library. And I was pleased to do this, and I'm told I did it well, so that was good. However, while I'm always in support of honoring and recognizing veterans, I feel that I was misled in a way on that particular statement prior to that referendum. While I was asked to support a proposed Veterans Park at the library, I was not aware that this was in opposition to the Seminole Memorial here at the courthouse grounds, which was already funded. Later, in fact, I was referred to as being ignorant for having not educated myself on the full scope of the situation, and perhaps I was. I was asked if I would support a veterans memorial at the library, and I do. I was not, however, asked if I would support a veterans veterans memorial at the library in place of already funded veterans memorial here at the courthouse, which is what I would have supported. Sort of like offering me a bowl of vanilla ice cream, and which I accepted, and then finding out that there was chocolate and butterpecan afterwards, and it was my own fault because I didn't ask if there were other choices. So I just felt that I was a little bit misled on that request, and I wanted to roll back that answer. My preference, the Legion, as a Legionnaire, would be to leave it here on the courthouse grounds. And I'll tell you why. Long-term consideration, or my long-term concern is to reestablish a park at the library. The next move of that is that, which I've not heard discussed, could be to move existing monuments that are here, that are established here, down to the new location, which is within keeping of the Monument Protection Act that was signed by Congress. We could move these statues and everything we have to a new location. I'd be against that. The reason I'm speaking is fewer than 2% of the U.S. population have had the honor of serving in the military. And each of us, when we took that oath of enlistment, effectively signed a blank check for any amount up to and including our lives in defense of the country. This doesn't make us better than anybody who didn't serve or didn't choose to serve or not, or in many cases were unable, but it does give us a unique perspective that may not be as easily understood. We consider these monuments that are here as monuments to our fallen brothers and sisters there's something like on sacred ground, historical memory to those who served before us, in whose footsteps we follow. They're not merely rocks and pillars that they move casually. They're monuments to our history. They represent who we are, who we were, and how we got to where we are today. I vote we cancel that library memorial and use that money for something else. Leave the historic memorials where they are. And let's move forward with the enhancement of the memorials that are already here on the historic courthouse. So I thank you for that. And again, I apologize for speaking directly after your eloquent opening statement, but that's needed to say that.
Well, if I may, let me give you some clarification, and I apologize that whoever invited you to endorse that project didn't verse you on all the aspects of it. As far as the funding of the monument proposed at the courthouse, I know there was an idea of funding, to the best of my knowledge, and any other council members, the funding hasn't existed unless $40 million popped up overnight somewhere nobody knows anything about. I've still heard rumors of trying to initiate a community-funded effort for a project like that. I'll also go on record in saying I'm firmly against moving any monument that's currently placed on the courthouse grounds, or any monument for that matter. And I know you said, and I honestly didn't realize under that act, we could move them to a new memorial park, but I would staunchly be against that should the issue ever arise. Just because we're putting this monument at the library doesn't mean another monument cannot be placed elsewhere on the courthouse grounds. That is a possibility. So that'd be revisited. Obviously, we want it to be something different. You don't want to mimic the same monuments, but the particular proposal that went before the CPST has been voted on. Election member knows off the top of their head, it was 14,000 and some change yes votes for that. So there's 14,000 and something residents out of the 56,000 or so that voted. That's not right. I can't remember the count. He's got it though. What was the count?
14,396 for and 10,397, 379.
So 14-3 to below 10,000 was the vote. We got to move forward. If we cancel one, we got to cancel all of them, and then everybody's going to be after all of us.
I fully understand, but I just needed to make the statement that primarily, I don't want to see the monuments move from here, and I was afraid that it may be going that way, and I felt like I was invited with partial information to speak in favor of the memorial at the library. So I just want to roll that back for the record.
And I think that, actually, in recent months, I think y'all been versed on the project that were presented for the courthouse. And like I said earlier, 7 years they've been working on that. And I think it's great if all the veteran groups got together and when they support the monuments. There's talk of sponsoring stones and whatnot, even at the one at the library. That's also a possibility if somebody was to present that as an option. We would definitely entertain that. But if you're concerned about monuments moving, as long as I'm on council, it'll be a no vote for me. So I don't think that's a fear. I haven't heard any initiative of that matter of moving any of our monuments to all these wars anywhere else at all. So
Nor have I, but it does open the door to do that. And that is a personal concern. Anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate your time on it. Another way, it's getting hot. And
thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to working with you and whichever way this goes.
Absolutely. Ms. Anderson, I'll stop everybody here. If not, I'll ask the next folks that are speaking to make sure you speak to the microphone. And next up is Ms. Diane Belson.
Okay, y'all here? Diane Bellison, I'm here on behalf of Lawrence Liberty Society and also Greenwood Patriots. We sent a letter this past week to the CEO of South Regional because they are now requiring their employees to get a vaccine for COVID or they will be fired. And we sent a letter in protest of that. And I just wanted to raise awareness of that. And I want to mention Councilman Rankin has a protest scheduled this Saturday from 10 to 12. Is it in front of the hospital?
It's close by.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to encourage people to show up to that protest, to take a stand. I feel like we have a very small window of time to take a stand for our own medical freedom, to have a decision on what we want put in our bodies, And also as, just someone, an employee, they should have that right to make that decision. That should not be forced by their employer that they have to do, have a vaccine or something like that. And I feel like today it's the employees of these companies. Tomorrow it's going to be us. Tomorrow it's going to be, oh, well, you need to go to the hospital to get something done, and you're going to have this vaccine. Or if you want to patronize the business or whatever. So I take this very seriously. The vaccines currently are experimental. They are not even approved by the FDA, and yet people are being forced to take an experimental vaccine. Now, they probably will be approved by the FDA within the month, within the next few weeks. Does that mean that they are magically, suddenly safe? No. I personally have been taking medication in the past that was approved by the FDA, prescribed by a doctor, which then turned out to have harmful side effects and was recalled. Probably all of us have, know of a situation like that. So I think there's a lot of concern. You may say, why am I coming to you as the county council? What can you all do? Basically, just use your voice to speak out. You all are leaders in the community. This is going to impact our entire community when people are being fired or can't get services because of their vaccine status if we don't take a stand now. I think another thing that could be done, y'all could collaborate with Greenwood County Council. You could collaborate, with them and try to set up a meeting between yourselves and the regional leadership, their CEO and their board, and protest this. I mean, there's plenty of things like that. You can make public statements, you can speak out. I don't know if it's possible to pass any sort of resolution. It may not be binding, but even if you just pass something to say we're opposed to forced vaccines and we support employee rights and patron rights, and just for even people sitting in this room, contact your state representatives, senators, Governor McMaster, speak out, make a statement. I know that the General Assembly is going back into a special session in September, and I believe they are planning to take a bill to address this. But, hope and pray it passes. Please put pressure on your elected representatives to vote in favor of that so that we cannot devolve into tyranny. And so, thank you.
All right, next we have Mr. James Buchanan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a Veterans Night, and what I want to do is read a letter from one of our former Hall of Heroes board members who could not be here tonight to read this. So be bear with me in a minute. To whom it may concern, I was a member of the board of the Lawrence County Veterans Hall of Heroes, incorporated from 2014 through 2020, including the chairmanship for 2 of these years. During the whole 6 years I served there, there was never any serious discussion about using library grants for our monuments. The courthouse square was the preferred location of all who served on the board. It was a location that all our designs targeted. Our first chairman, King Dixon, was adamantly opposed to placing the monuments at the library, as was the rest of the board. Our board did not meet for many months due to the COVID pandemic. I believe that there was a misunderstanding of the significance of the location just between the sales tax referendum came up, just before the sales tax referendum came up. I was of the understanding that the two sites were both mutually exclusive. I think the board members signed off on this memo thinking it was a good thing and would allow us to accomplish our goal in the courthouse square without having to mount a capital campaign for donations. After the referendum passed and we found out that the library site was on the site approved, we had discussions among ourselves about the location. In our disappointment, we still maintained hope that the discrepancy could be corrected. I received a phone call on January 1st, 2021 from a member of county council claiming that King Dixon preferred the library site. I told the caller I knew that to be untrue because I had many conversations with King about the location and had never heard him express that opinion. In an unrelated conversation with Gus Dixon later, I asked him about his father's wishes. He claimed that as much as his parents loved the library and were instrumental in obtaining this new location, that his father had discussed the Veteran Monument location extensively, and his father was opposed to the library location. The Veteran Monuments belong on Courthouse Square with the rest of the military monuments. The people being honored with these monuments should have a say in their locations. Have discussed this topic with many veterans, and the response has been a unanimous preference for the Courthouse Square location. Sincerely, Paul Vaughn.
Just in response to that, I am the council member to call it. And King Dixon did tell me that, and there's other people sitting in this room who he told the exact same thing to. And I'm not here to sit here and argue about what that man said, but I do know what I was told by King, and I know what others have told me that King told him. He was a great man and an honored veteran and a pillar of this community. Once again, I'm not going to argue about what he said or didn't say, but I know what I was told. As far as the movement, I'll ask the county attorney for clarification. Is there any possibility whatsoever of moving the Veteran Monument from the library grounds as it was stated on the ballot for all the people who voted green?
Under the conditions of the referendum and bond, it has to go where the referendum says it goes, because these are public funds that are being used and collected to repay the debt of that. It does not eliminate, this is not a privately funded project. If there's a privately funded project, as the chairman said just a minute ago, that's certainly open for consideration. But as to this project, to the capital project, it has to go where it was put on the ballot and it was clearly stated that it went to the library.
That is the interpretation of our legal team who would be in charge of fighting that should there ever be a legal battle should we have moved it. County council will continue to push forward with the location of the monuments on the library as voted upon in the referendum. We can't change it if we wanted to change it. Like I did mention earlier, there's another project that people feel would be appropriate for the north side of the square on the courthouse grounds. Remember, we only control what's inside the chains. I will go say that, but I can't help what's outside the chains. But if there is anything else that somebody would like to entertain at a later date, we would happily address that and entertain it. Next up, we have Mr. Gregory Fielder.
Mr. Chairman, Council, I'm here to discuss what can only be described as an abuse of power. I live over on 600 Anderson Drive here in Lawrence. There was a violation of my rights, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. There was trespass on my property. There were false accusations made. There was a respect of my human rights and a misuse and abuse of community resources. What happened was I simply made a fire on my property. I called forestry. I paid to have a fire break around the burn. I employed someone with a dozer to be there to assist in the burn. The operator was present and he was disrespected. And most of this I have a copy of what happened. When I got to the dozer, I left the dozer operator there. When I came back, when he called me, in fact, he said, "Man, you better come here." I went up, asked to identify myself, and I asked who was in charge. The gentleman told me he was in charge. I asked him for his name. He would not give me his name. And I asked him, "What's the problem?" He said, "You didn't call forestry, and you're burning something some slats or something that you shouldn't be burning." He said, "Did you call forestry?" I said, well, I'm just listening to you. So in the final analysis, he told me that we had to put it out because we thought it was illegal. I called the chairman of the council and told him my concerns. He asked Dale Satterfield to look into it. Dale Satterfield looked into it, and he came back with a report that was actually abusive to me. He told me that I must call forestry. I can't burn anything but trees and limbs and leaves. And he did tell me that he called forestry. He found out that I had called forestry at 7:01 a.m. The reason I say there was an abuse, they came with 3 fire trucks, actual fire trucks, 2 other pickup fire trucks, 4 police. That's just on the side of Anderson Drive, which 6,000 cars per day travel that road. Then there were others over on Sunset Park Extension. I don't know how many were over there. They came, trampled over my property. There was about 14 white people who was up at the fire. And I say that because that's all I saw. And there was no other explanation. In fact, lastly, let me tell you, they went to the guy that was on the dozer. He was a black guy. He went to him, pointed his finger, like, get down here. I don't know what he said before that or after that, but he told him to get down here. And the operator said, I'm not coming down there. And he said, get down here. The dozer driver did not come down. I'm certain that if I was in error, I would have been charged. They had no reason to charge me. It was a legal burn. I called the forestry every time I burned. But this is the burden that Dale wanted to put on me. He said, I checked everything out. Yeah, you call forestry. Just call forestry again, and you can continue to burn. But call dispatch. I'm under no obligation to call dispatch. All I need to call is forestry. What they should have and perhaps could have done was call forestry to make certain that it was a legal burn. But they violated and trespassed on my property. Now, in my conclusion, what I want is $2,400 of actual damages. The dozer driver, he just left because he didn't want no part of this that was going on. I was clearing the property for one reason. The main reason is because it would enhance my property. So I was going to do it anyway. But I got a letter from the county, from Jeff Norwood, indicating that it has been determined by a code enforcement officer of Lawrence County Building that I violated some code, which was growth of weeds and grass and accumulation of appliances and things of that nature. Telling me that I had 60 days to correct it, or I would be charged $200 per day if I did not. So I don't know if there's a conspiracy to prevent me from doing what I need to do on property that I have purchased, paid taxes to, and you come up like it was their property. I was told civics a long time ago that they are nothing but servants. They have no right to trespass on my property. But they told me, no, you get out, so let's get out of the way. And I had a child with me, so I left. But I know I have a right to my property. I mean, even under the castle law, but just under God's law, no man should be able to come and put you off your property. So I want to employ the Dozier driver to return and finish the work that was prohibited by some people supposed to be representing Lawrence County. I was trying to do something to enhance my property. And also, I can understand I did have some debris there, but I've had those out there 2 or 3 times. Never had a problem. So I just want to make you all aware that they really abused their property. Abused their power by coming to my property. They endangered a lot of citizens. And when you got, I don't know what it costs to operate 3 fire trucks, but I know they shouldn't be just taking a joyride. And I'm going to reiterate, if I was in error, I'm certain they would have charged me. I'll entertain any questions if you like, but I have it on recorded what Dale said, telling me that it's okay, you can go back and burn, but make sure you call dispatch, which I'm under no obligation to call dispatch. And then when I approached the guy that's supposed to be in charge, who refused to give me his name. So I'll entertain any questions.
I have a few, if you don't mind, just for council's clarification. I believe the only 2 people that saw the report besides whomever you showed it to was the vice chairman and I, that we received the report from Dale that he sent you, that showed 7 calls for fire at your address. I just for knowledge, how many of those did they put out? How many they let stay burning? Do you recall by chance?
When?
Lawrence County's been dispatched to that address 7 times for burning. They're named different things, but all of them are fires. Did they put all 7 out? Did we put 5 out? Did they let some burn? What was the?
Yeah, they let some burn.
Okay.
Let me address that. One of the reasons why they are dispatched on a regular basis is because they don't know that I am in the county because I'm in so close proximity to the city. And I know that there are residents that call wondering why I can burn and they can't. And it's simply because I am in the county.
That's correct. Absolutely. And you might have that conversation in the county, you can burn, and I'm sure you read the report just like I did, and then you can read in there where the neighbor called and said, well, I can he burn and I can't. You read that in this report. And it should be county fire dispatch to you. If they dispatch city, then that was done in error for sure. But I was just curious out of the 7, how many were left burning versus how many were put out. But, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the latest one, they were claiming there was maybe construction debris or something of the sorts, household materials that they were claiming, I think, was in the pile, and that was the reason given for putting the fire out. And whether that was in there or not, I don't know. I didn't see it. But that was the reason given, and I mean, I'll be honest, our firemen were doing what they're trained and told to do legally. I mean, I hope he sent you. Did you send Mr. Fielder the regulations from the state?
Excuse me.
Sure.
I specifically asked Dale to generate a report and give it to me. He refused. And if you see him before, I tell him, I said he refused to give me a report.
Mr. Satterfield, if you will give Mr. Fielder the report he was given to the vice chairman myself. But it does go over.
Yes, so I mailed him the same reports that I mailed you,
Okay.
that I sent to you.
Have you received those?
I have not.
Okay. Well, they are in the mail then.
Okay.
So you should be getting.
He certainly
in
should.
there, it outlines the rules, state rules and rules and regulations. They go over that. And it does specify no heavy oil, asphalt materials, items containing rubber or any other materials other than plant growth.
Other than what?
Other than plant growth. The only thing that the state allows legally to be burned is vegetation. And I'm an old country boy, and I grew up burning trash. I know how it is. And I'll be honest, I do not know the dates that these laws were passed. I do not have that in front of me. Actually, I do. The latest it was amended was December of 2013. Was the latest amendment to this particular regulation. Once again, these are state stuff, not county. But I tell you what, get the report, and after that, if you will give me a call, and we'll be glad to talk about it. Mr. Cruikshanks, as far as, compensation, if he's desiring to go that route, what would be the pathway to that?
If you could simply write a letter to me or some kind of statement and present it, and we'll investigate your claim and the surrounding information, submit it to our carrier and either accept it or not. But I'll be glad to take any information, recordings, letters, anything that you've got, you're welcome to send it to me. And I'll give you one of my cards if you want it.
Okay. Forestry said I can burn the debris. I looked up the description from the OED. It has debris is rubble, wreckage, ruins, litter, and discarded garbage, refuse, trash, scattered remains of something destroyed, discarded, or as in geology, large rock fragments left by melting glacier, et cetera, et cetera. I'm from northern Lawrence, Emery. And, we got a pallet, if we need to burn a pallet, but I was not burning anything that was illegal.
Let me give you my card.
Please.
Got my
And
email
if you
address.
will get that, if you'll write that letter for compensation to the attorney, we'll work on that direction.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
all your questions?
That's all I have, unless anybody
What
else.
did they say you was burning illegal?
I live at 600 Anderson Drive. Initially, I burned, and there was some trees and vegetation between another building. So they told me, I didn't own it. So they told me, well, if you burn, you may melt the vinyl on that building. So I purchased that building. And after I purchased that building, they had some debris back there. It was some concrete with metal, and someone had poured a porch or something. And so the operator, he did push that cement up into the fire that had metal on it. But we were just trying to clean up. And I didn't tell him to do it, but he does that for a living. And so my point is, I still don't know what they are claiming that was illegal. I have no idea what they're talking about that's illegal.
Yeah, I can burn tile in my pasture, that's more legal than what it is. Burn.
And I have one more question. What were the police for? For police cars, what were they for?
I couldn't tell you personally, Mr. Fielder, I have no idea. Did you talk with I know you talked to the fire department, did you talk to the sheriff's department?
I did not talk to law enforcement. But I would think normally what they would do is show up in case there's traffic control, they need to direct traffic, keep everyone safe away from the incident.
I hate to put you on the spot, Mr. Avery, what's the protocol for a call, when a call goes out? Do you send police, fire, whole 9 yards for safety and whatnot?
Typically, if it's close like that in the cities will respond, the deputies are close by, they'll respond. Traffic control is paramount in a situation like that, so we need law enforcement.
So they're under city jurisdiction?
So again,
Is that under city jurisdiction?
The road is.
the road is city jurisdiction.
Well, I can assure you that they were not in the road. All of them gathered up by the fire. Nobody was controlling traffic. And then, on that note, later, the guy from the forestry came. I wasn't there, that's what my operator told me. Forestry came, got out with bulletproof vest and weapon. What's all that for?
I know none of our firemen carry weapons.
Forestry came, he told me, somebody came, they had a tree on the side of the truck. He put on his bulletproof vest and make sure he strapped his weapon. What's all that for?
I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with their protocols and what they do at state level. I think that's overkill, and I'll agree with you on that, but I have no clue what they do and don't do at the state marshal level.
It's abuse of power, that's what it is. Anything else?
Thanks for coming to council this evening.
Sure.
All right, that's all I have signed up for public comments. Next we'll move into county council comments. I'll start on my right, Mr. Running.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I just want to thank again everyone for being here tonight. It was hot enough outside, but it's definitely warm up in here. But I appreciate everyone coming out. Again, I want to thank the American Legion. Super excited about what you guys proposed. I'm really excited to work with you guys to make that happen. And again, just thank you for all you guys do for our community. And thank you for your service to our great country. I hope everyone in this room appreciates what you all have done for this country and fighting for our freedom and trying to preserve this great country. But freedom is so important. It's so important, guys. And this has been weighing on my heart heavy the past few months, watching some of our freedoms slowly erode away. And it may seem small. It may just be something stupid like a mask, being forced to wear it, or now it's the vaccine. Well, what has made America great is that we have always been told that we can make up our own mind what is best for ourselves and our families. But that is slowly going away. We've been told by our employers that we're now required to either take a vaccine or we'll lose our jobs. And I've been contacted by many in the medical field, many private citizens who work for large corporations like Walmart, who are very concerned about their freedoms to be able to choose what is right for themselves and their family. And as long as I'm here, I will fight every day to make sure that we have the right to choose. Be it known and be it reminded to everybody that none of these vaccines, as Ms. Belson spoke to earlier, have been fully approved by the FDA. And to require and force employees to get this or lose their jobs is illegal. And I'm very certain that there will be many lawsuits filed over the next few months if this continues down this road. But I implore Self Regional Medical Center to reevaluate their policy mandating that their employees receive a vaccine or they lose their jobs. And I've caught a lot of flack for what we're going to be doing next Saturday, but it's worth it. And to be honest, I've received much more, and I'll restate that, much more support for this vaccine freedom protest than I've heard negative. So we're going to be out there at Self Regional, close by at the intersection of West Alexander Avenue and Main Street South, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. next Saturday, protesting what they're doing and forcing their employees to get this vaccine. And I encourage the community to join me in that effort, because our freedoms are at stake. And we talk about America is the greatest country in the world, and we have so much freedom. Well, if we're not being proactive in defending those freedoms, they will slowly be taken away. Look at history. I'm a history buff. It didn't take long for Nazi Germany to be overtaken and for their citizens to be forced to do things they never thought imaginable just 20 years prior. So if you're interested, please reach out to me. Remember, this is the greatest country that's ever existed. Let's preserve it. Let's do our part to make sure that corporations, government is not overstepping on our personal rights. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Grove.
Mr. Chairman and members of council, last week, the Lawrence County Development Corporation made a serious mistake in voting to move their offices from the current location to the upstairs building in downtown Lawrence. First, the current offices are not only adequate but excellent. The office is attached to the Chamber of Commerce and connected by a glass door. There are expanded meeting facilities available there. All the conference rooms and the LCDC and the chamber are equipped with excellent audiovisual equipment. There's no need for extra space, extra meeting or conference space. The offices in the area, the industrial park or the office park, are all professional offices like doctors and dentists and outpatient surgical services and financial services. There are actually fewer empty buildings there than in downtown Lawrence. The Chamber of Commerce will miss the recurring rent payment in spite of the LCDC's payment of the lease balance. The money to pay this buyout came out of the increase in funding that this council paid to attract industry not to play usual offices. And the efforts of Clinton and Lawrence have been joined together in the past. There's always been a fear that as the smaller partner that we'd be forgotten. Our contribution would be used to enhance us as long as us was Lawrence, but not be used for us when us was Clinton. Examples of this go back to the countywide water system dream of the 1980s, when every water user in the county paid for Lake Raven with a surcharge on their water bills, but the only system that ever got any water was Lawrence. It's undeniable that every service that is successfully serving Lawrence County as a whole is located within a stone's throw of the current LCDC office. Just for review, let's think about that. That's the Lawrence County Memorial Hospital, Piedmont Tech, Social Security Office, Chamber of Commerce, Self Memorial's Urgent Care Center, Lakeside Country Club, Lawrence County Disability and Special Needs, and Lawrence County Airport. It's not to mention the many doctors, dentists, and financial service professionals that have chosen offices near the current LCDC offices to serve both Clinton and Lawrence. Clinton recognizes that we're the smaller of the Lawrence and that we're not the county seat. We declare ourselves to be a community with our own history, our own need to serve our own future prosperity, and our own violence. Senior partners can outvote their subordinates every time, except when the subordinates are needed to make the enterprise viable. In order to make the LCDC viable, Clinton joined with Lawrence to create the LCDC. The office was included with the chamber to symbolize that joint effort. Voting to move the office is a breach of trust. It's a move of bad faith, which should be reconsidered and undone. As a leader of the Clinton community and one of its members on the city council, I'm telling you that we're not satisfied with this relationship. I'll be joining the Clinton Newberry Natural Gas Authority, the city of Clinton, the school district 56, and requesting at the next meeting that this issue be revisited.
Ms. Giannis. Ms. Anderson.
I got a call from a citizen that's in the Crossfield area regarding another garbage dump. They're complaining about the litter, and they feel like if they had another dumpster or another dumpster site, that they would be able to control some of the litter that's along, especially the railroad line. So they didn't want to come, and they asked me to be their voice this evening, but I'm quite sure that they will probably be on the telephone regarding this particular issue. They just want me to bring it up, that they are concerned about the litter in that area, and they feel like one way to resolve it is by using dumpster site, something else in Crossfield.
Like Ms. Anderson, real quick, if you haven't already, we'll keep that address, our information.
I was going to ask, thank you, sir. I did not catch where it was at.
She just said cross, I think I'll give you that personal information after the fact. I will say that, we've all passed around litter ordinances, they've been quite successful already. And maybe, if you will, that will also bring it to the attention of the sheriff's department so that they can go investigate, and if there's illegal dumping and they get information and go that route, maybe use extra control to try to curb that. But I will say, hearing from the sheriff's department, our litter initiative, they've given them a little more power, a little more ability to do something right then and help them out with prosecuting some of these litter issues that we have been having. So we'll just relay that to all the right people. I think that would be great. I'll speak on the LCDC from my point of view. I was not at the meeting where the discussion took place, nor did I take a vote on it. I'm just throwing a vote for perhaps invitation for that particular meeting. However, I do support the decision. There are some misconceptions along with everything out there. One is that there's no elevator in the building. The on the second floor is a violation of ADA laws and whatnot. The lease on that building includes offices on the first floor as well, which are handicap accessible. So that argument on that front's null and void. As far as when we entertain economic development initiatives, companies, industries, lots of people, the biggest thing right now, in addition to jobs and housing, is quality of life. It's quality of life. You hear it everywhere you go. We had a board member. I'm not going to tell you which one it was, but we had he's not from Lawrence County, or this entity that is part of Lawrence, but he personally lives outside. He's been on the board for between 8 and 10 years. And we had a meeting at the LCDC in conference room. We completed that and actually went over to the park to look at a particular initiative. And we got there, and we came down 76 and came back down Calvin Road there, Gunbridge Road. And we got there and the guy at the county said, when did sub-regional build an office at the red light? Now, this was 2 months ago. And I said, what do you mean? He said, that building on by the red light, when did they put that there? I said, no, it's been there at least 7 or 8 years, as far as I can tell. He said, never seen it. So I get off at exit 2 on 308, I come the back way and I leave the back way. And we have industry that does that on a regular basis. They'll come, they'll sit down and go, where's the town? And that happens all too often. I personally think to move to either city, we can make it in Clinton, but I think putting it somewhere centrally located and for quality of life purposes is a good idea. I think being out in the middle of the 2 towns did have a reason back in the day. I'm fully aware of that. But in today's atmosphere and the industry we're trying to draw in, quality of life is paramount to the success of bringing in industrial projects. And I'll also note, I won't talk playing the same sandbox together, but Clinton went out, and I don't know the timelines, I'm not pretend to, and developed their own economic development corporation. So they kind of said, we don't need you, we'll do our own thing. And now they're saying, oh, wait a minute, we want you back. I personally take grudge with that. If you want to play on the ball team, don't go start your own ball team yourself. But that's my personal opinion on it. I've talked enough tonight, so I'll end it there. We do have one matter for executive sessions. At this time, I'll call for a motion to enter the executive session for human resources, employment matter.
Motion to enter to executive session for HR. Second.
Motion by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Rankin. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. 6-0. We'll reconvene in executive session in 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, you do, Roger, I used to be here.
Yeah, right. She does. She keeps me straight, that's the darn truth.
Let's go back there.
We're good. All right, time now 7:31. I'll call council back into the open session. In the executive session, council discussed employment matters. There was no action taken during executive session. I will now open the floor for any motion that the council member desires to make.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to authorize our county attorney, at the direction of council to complete the employment matter. See that here.
You have a motion by Mr. Rankin. Second by Mr. Youngs. Any discussion on that matter? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-0. Is there any other motion to be made this evening?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we offer Mr. Thomas Higgs the position of Lawrence County Administrator, pending the completion of the negotiation of a final contract.
We have heard the motion by Ms. Anderson,
Second.
second by Mr. Carroll. Is there any discussion on this matter? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. The motion passes 6-0. Congratulations, Mr. Higgs. We will do council comments again if deemed necessary. I would like to say that this has been a great process. I've enjoyed working with my fellow council members through this process. It's been a great experience. Finding great people is who we use throughout this process, and they did a phenomenal job. Very impressed with their professionalism and their services, and probably look forward to doing business with them again in the future. Mr. Higgs made aware and verbally accepted, and we will finalize the contract shortly. Upon that finalization, that will be made available to the media and general public who request it. But I'm thoroughly looking forward to having the county administrator on board. I would be remiss by not thank Mr. Satterfield. Mr. Satterfield and his team have led us through this time. He's done a phenomenal job, and Dale, I appreciate you greatly for carrying us.
I'm extremely excited as well.
I bet you are. Is there anything any other council member desire to say before we close out this meeting? All right, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Rankin. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Meeting adjourned.